Welcome to I'm Still Here, real conversations about living with metastatic breast cancer. I'm your host, Heather Jose. I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer at the age of 26 and have now been living with metastatic disease for over 25 years. This podcast is a space for honest conversation about what it actually looks like to live with metastatic cancer, the challenges, the realities, and the ways we continue to build meaningful lives alongside this disease. I'm really glad you're here. Welcome back. How is everyone? This week we are doing a question and answer episode. So I asked you to ask me some questions on Instagram. Oh, I probably should have checked Facebook too, but I forgot. I'm sorry. I'll do that next time, I promise. And I am answering them today. So if this is something that you find useful and helpful, please let me know. I'm happy to do more of them. I do feel like sometimes I get asked the same questions again and again, and I forget to keep answering them because just because I have answered them many times in the past does not mean that you've heard them. So I apologize for not always getting back to you with your questions, but we'll try to tackle some of them today. So, question number 1. Where are or were your mets? I had innumerable bone mets. I was talking to my doctor about this at my last appointment. You can still see, where they were. And I have always done things a little bit differently. And I specifically said, I do not want to know where every met is. I knew that it would cause me more stress to be thinking about that. I knew in general where some of them were, a lot of them were, but I didn't want to know everything. This also asks, which treatments did you get? I am happy to talk a little bit about treatments, but I have to preface this by saying the way that we do treatment for people who are diagnosed from the start with metastatic breast cancer is different now. I was diagnosed in 1998. So I started with chemotherapy. That is not necessarily the norm today. It was kind of, my treatments have actually developed while I've been alive. I hope that's encouraging to you, right? When I started, Faslodex had not been approved. And Faslodex is the drug that I have been on since 2004. It was approved in 2002. But prior to Faslodex, I did chemotherapy. I did a double stem cell transplant, which is a high dose chemo followed by stem cells. They don't do those anymore because they found that that's not what's best for patients. It wasn't increasing people's longevity. And in fact, it was really harmful to people as well. So from there, I did a double mastectomy. I did radiation. And then I started on tamoxifen. I was on Zometa. I probably started that a little bit before that. Zometa is a bone strengthener. And then I was on tamoxifen for a couple of years. Then I switched to Arimidex for a couple of years. And then I moved to Faslodex. So Faslodex has been the drug that I've been on forever, since 2004. I was also on Herceptin for a period of time from like 2008 to, I don't know exactly how long, a couple of years, maybe 3 or 4 even. We stopped Herceptin because my ejection fraction was going down. My heart, that measures, your heart's ability to function. And we didn't notice a difference either way. We had kind of added Herceptin because of something that looked like progression. I had then pushed for a biopsy and found out that it wasn't truly cancer progression. So it's a little complicated, like most stories are, right? I was on Zometa for a long time until 2013, I believe. We had tapered it over time, but then I was diagnosed with osteonecrosis of the jaw. So sometimes I feel like I'm just the guinea pig for everybody who's come behind me. We now know that being on biphosphonates for a million years is not a good idea because it does increase the incidence of things like osteonecrosis of the jaw. So that is my treatments. I am triple positive. That is another of my questions here. So this another question says anxiety. How do you or did I deal with bumps in the road? I think that's the biggest one of the biggest challenges for living with metastatic breast cancer. Knowing that that life can look different after a scan or with another diagnosis of some kind. For me, it has not been progression in a really long time, but as of late, it has been side effects of the medicines I've been on. Just maybe it's the lack also of estrogen, all of those things. I think learning to deal with the anxiety is always a challenge. And for me, I try to counter that with what I do have, what is working, what the possibilities are. I heard that anxiety is sort of assuming fear, like borrowing worry kind of thing. And you can access hope in the same way you can access worry. So I try to presume good intent, right? That good things will happen just as much as anything bad. I don't generally go down a road of, you know, this is terrible and it could get worse. I just don't allow myself to do that kind of thing. As far as like anxiety in the moment, I also realize that it's going to come and go. It's not always going to be with me. When it is a part of my life, especially around times like that I'm scanning, I know that it's important to keep up other routines in terms of moving my body, eating well, reaching out to people. And sometimes when it's something like a scan, that's a very small group because there's a lot of platitudes that people bring you when you're talking about, I'm really worried about a scan, and they're like, oh, it'll be okay, or God has a plan, or whatever that looks like. I don't find any of that to be especially helpful. So I generally share my anxiety over things like that with my husband, who can give me something that seems much more genuine to me and that I know he recognizes the implication of, something changing with a scan. So it's more when he responds, it feels more genuine to me, and that's helpful as well. I have talked about scan anxiety in the past, and there's other episodes about this as well. So do you attribute your outstanding success to anything? The honest answer is no. For why I'm still here, one thing. I can tell you that you have, I don't want to make you feel like you have to do something to live longer with this disease, because honestly, I know people who have done a lot of things and they haven't lived long lives. Did I get lucky and find a medicine that works? Yeah, maybe. I mean, did my contributions that I have done help? I don't know. I started out from the beginning. I needed to participate and do as much as I could do to be a part of my care. That meant like I could not go home and wait for treatment to happen. I really needed to feel like I could make a difference in the way my body maybe responded to chemo, or the way, that my overall health. What could I do to give my body the best chance at killing cancer? That was my goal. So for me, that was a million different things. But to be honest, like there's also been periods of time where I haven't worked out all that well, or I haven't eaten well, or it's not one thing. Um, I will say the thing that I've been the most protective of the whole time is my brain. The thoughts that come in, the thoughts that I allow to come in, the emotional baggage that I allow myself to carry, those are all priorities for me. And when I say that, I mean that um, I know that I am susceptible. My brain takes things in and doesn't forget it. I know that from statements that were said by doctors that before I even knew to stop them, or things that people said in early days. But I learned quickly that something came in, it took so much work to negate that thought or get rid of it or talk myself out of it, that I was just going to protect my brain and my thoughts. And I built a bubble. I really, really built a bubble. And I um, was very careful about the information that I allowed in. Now, again, this is me, my choice to do that. I was not somebody who wanted to know about side effects or even kind of what comes next. Of course, it felt good to have my doctor say, hey, this, when I was diagnosed, Herceptin was new, like, oh, we'll keep this in our back pocket. Things like that were really powerful to me. But I was not able to carry anybody else's fear, anxiety, stress over my diagnosis and my disease. Um, I think this is something that as women, we are taught to help others feel better uh, in all situations, right? We are the helpers. We're the ones who a lot of times are gauging the temperature of the room in terms of, oh, that person feels left out, or oh, that person is sad, or oh, this person is whatever it is. And we often go to help other people before we help ourselves. And again, my intuition was so strong in the early days. And it was I was at such a precipice of this is life or death for me. I have to choose me first. It doesn't mean that I can't take care of others. I could still take care of my daughter. I could still be a partner to my husband. But first and foremost, I had to take care of myself, which meant not engaging in conversations with people who were, I'm so worried, or I'm so scared, or what if, or telling me stories about people where things didn't go well. I said no to that. Or getting involved in support groups where people were not doing well. I couldn't handle that then. I can be in a position now where I can help other people, but for the first 10 years or more, I couldn't do that. And there's a difference between like, you can be an inspiration to people without having to be in the day to day of it. I think I don't know, the thing that I really care about is people protecting themselves and being willing to have hard conversations with people and say, I need you to find another outlet right now because I have to take care of myself, whatever that looks like. It's not, if people don't understand that, they're not your people. And if it's children, of course, they're not going to understand it. You're going to need ways to be able to both care for them, but also have help caring for them. Um, and again, this conversation looks different now uh, when people are starting on treatments that maybe aren't as taxing at the beginning, but not to say every bit of this mental thing is still in play. You're still worried about how long you're going to be here. You're still worried about what life is going to look like. You still have all the fear and anxiety. you might just not be throwing up. And honestly, sometimes that's even harder because people look at you and think, "Oh, you're fine. You look fine, so you must be fine." And you're not, because you're dealing with the fact that you have a disease that could change the outcome of your life, right? Could change that. But also, it's an opportunity to say, okay, how do I take care of myself? What are my priorities? It gets real really fast in those circumstances. And I would implore you to think about yourself and what to be able to build a strong mind, body, spirit, and how other people can support you. And you need to tell them that, you know. Um, I was very much directing the ship or whatever from the start. I was like, okay, nobody knows what I need. And I had the advantage of being 26 and having cancer. And so I was being lumped into groups that I so clearly did not fit in, that people did listen to me when I said, nope, that's not going to work for me. This is how I do it. I would love it if you could do such and such. And my community responded, and it was wonderful. Whew, sorry. That was a long one. Um, this isn't really a question, but it says, I'm 5 years with MBC. I find it hard to share my stories when others are not doing well. I guess with that, I would just say, again, I don't know if this is a support group situation. If that's the case, then that's why support groups don't always work, right? Because I do feel like with social media, we're in a place where people can find inspiration on the internet without having to have the personal back and forth in a way that is hard for the person who's offering support. I don't think you should. I mean, you can feel any way you want. I can't tell you how to feel, but we all have to recognize that everybody has a different path. And I mean, we can all support each other, I guess, but ultimately it's not, I can't change somebody else's outcome. I wish I could. I truly wish I could. But I also don't feel like me feeling sad or guilt over that does a whole lot to contribute to my life, and even how I think that the people that go before us would want us to feel. I think they would want us to live fully despite having metastatic disease. Next question is, when did you start to believe that, okay, maybe I can live with this long term? I think this is a great question, but I also don't have the answer. I think it just is a buildup of, stable scans or getting through progression and coming out the other side. I think it's just experience with living with metastatic disease. And also, there's a part of me that, while I absolutely plan like for the future and all of those kind of things, but I don't necessarily think about it that way. Like, okay, I can do this long term. I kind of think I look more backwards and go, oh, wow, okay, that was 5 years, or okay, that was 10 years. This is 15 years. There's times when I've evaluated how does, living with metastatic breast cancer and my life, how do they fit together, and where should my focus be on that? But I don't think there was a point. I will say I think it's gotten easier over the years. I think it's gotten easier, and I'll also recognize that I didn't come out of it in 1 year or in 2 years or in 3 years thinking, oh yeah, I can do this long term. I mean, I think a years down the road process of, 10 years plus probably of, okay, maybe maybe this is gonna stick for a while. So how did you navigate the first year as I'm really scared and was just diagnosed in March. The first year is terrifying. I think it's so important to find some things that help you get calm, get thoughtful, bring you hope, bring you inspiration, and just recognize that there's no timeline to this. Like, you aren't behind. You're not supposed to be feeling better. You're not all of these things. You have metastatic breast cancer impacts absolutely every part of your life, and there is no quick way through it. So I would just say, number one, give yourself grace. Number two, find some things that you can go to. Like, what is my 5-minute fix? What is my 5-minute, like, how to squelch fear plan? Is it listening to a visualization that helps me just get out of my head? Is it writing? Is it dancing? What? And then what is my 10-minute plan? And what is my half an hour plan? And how do I disengage for a little bit? What does that look like? And then also, I would say, kind of keeping a list, maybe 2 lists. One list of things that have gone right, because we forget so quickly. We forget so quickly when things go right. So things that, I found a great doctor, or man, I got through that scan without crying, or whatever that looks like. Things that have gone right, like put them down, write them down, sort of like a gratitude practice would be. And then the other thing with that is, what can I do that I know makes me feel better? So again, is it moving my body? Is it eating something that I just go, wow, that was 5 fruits and vegetables? Whatever makes you feel like you're taking care of yourself, what are those things? And go to them often. The other thing I would say with that is, what do you need? And who do you need it from? Do you need to cut back a little bit on work? Do you need more help with your family? Do you need social support? Are you all alone? Like, what are the things that you need, and how can you access them? And just know it's going to get better. It's going to take a long time, though. Like, you're in it and you're doing a great job, and just keep going, right? Okay. This question I sort of already answered. It's, how many times have you had to change meds? So this is where another thing that has changed since 1998. We don't traditionally start with chemotherapy anymore. I know it's not unheard of, but it's just not the way that it generally happens at this point. So people always love to ask me, like, what line of treatment I'm on. I don't really have an answer for that, because I don't feel like it's traditional lines of treatment. I went from, everything was planned in terms of doing chemo, the stem cell, the mastectomy, the double mastectomy, the radiation. That was all planned. And so was then going on tamoxifen. I would say what wasn't as planned was moving from tamoxifen to Arimidex, and then from Arimidex to Faslodex. So those have been my changes. And then we added Herceptin and took Herceptin off. Those are the times that I have had changes in meds. It hasn't been a million, but I have been with people, and if you've listened to the Sensational Survivor series, there are people who have been on multiple lines, and they're still here, and they're still living a really good life with metastatic disease. All right. This question says, more info about your use of Block Center. The Block Center is outside of Chicago, Illinois. They are an integrative cancer center, which means that they use other things. They use conventional medicine. Let me be clear about that. It is not like just one way, or, you can't be a part of it. But they also encompass more whole body things in terms of body, mind, and spirit, and nutrition, all of those things. So for me, I started going to Block after I had started doing chemo. I was looking for help and support with, like, nutrition and other things that I could do for myself. And I wasn't really getting what I wanted at the cancer center that I was at. And so my mom had found this place and we went to it. They were a great support for me, and they were a second opinion on my conventional treatment, which was wonderful. It just feels nice to have somebody say, yeah, that's the plan I would do as well. And then I followed everything that they did in terms of nutrition, supplements, visualization. I was exercising, all of that kind of stuff. They were just really helpful for me to fill in the gaps that I was looking for at the time. I don't go there anymore. I do some supplements, but not very many, not nearly what I did when I was with them. I think they're a great, I like what they do. I just felt like I didn't need to continue there. So, all right. How to manage social media use in initial diagnosis. Oh, there wasn't social media when I was initially diagnosed, so I can't say this from experience. For me, I literally was writing letters and we were mailing them and people were circulating them. We were barely even doing email when I was diagnosed. I think in some ways that was really good. I think what you have to, with any social media, what your feed to be something that is positive and uplifting. If it's not helpful for you, then it's hurtful, right? Don't do it. If you're looking at things, if you're in groups that when you leave, you feel worse, that's not the place. And you just have to be able to feel confident in the choices that you're making, right? Even right now, I just don't do a lot of Facebook. I just feel like every time that I get on Facebook, I don't feel great, right? And that's not even like being a part. I left groups a long time ago on Facebook. I felt like the negative outweighed the positive for me. I know that's not true for everybody, but you are entitled to curate your feed any way you want. And even if that doesn't work, then don't do it. I think you might miss some of those things initially, but it feels better to be away from them. My feed on Instagram is some people who live with metastatic disease. It's also people who are growing their own gardens. It's a lot of things, and I walk away from it generally feeling better. So if I would just encourage you to use it in a way that is positive and pay attention to how you're feeling about it. When the negative is there, you need to back off. I shouldn't say back off necessarily. You need to figure out what's working and what's not working. And you can do that any way you want. And honestly, you're not missing out. That you need will find you. I do believe that. I just really do. And sometimes we just need the perspective of being outside and enjoying the little things and finding, truly living our own lives versus being a part of other people's lives in a way that makes you feel like you're missing out or you're not doing something right, or it brings you grief and sadness because of, things that are happening. So, all right. Last question. Trying to stop the what ifs before a PET scan result. Any tips? I'm very positive usually. My best advice for this is just you're going to have the what ifs. You got to counter them with what ifs. What if that isn't true? What if it is all great? What if that doesn't mean anything? Talk about this a little bit more, but I just had a PET scan and the results, when you read them, they don't just go, hey, no evidence of disease. They kind of go, well, there's a little spot, da 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 da. None of it says that there's cancer. But if I were reading that in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe up to 10, I would be like, oh gosh, something's wrong. And the truth is, things show up on your scans, right? And so you have to be able to counter them with the what if it turns out, right? What if it's fine? What if it's nothing, truly nothing? And then the other thing is you have to choose how you're going to get your information and when you're going to look at it. if your scan, I time my scans pretty closely because I don't want results in my portal weeks, days, whatever it looks like, before I'm going to see my oncologist. Had my scan on a Wednesday night. I saw my oncologist on Monday. I'm going to talk about this a little bit. My results came in on Friday afternoon. I almost didn't, a lot of times I don't look at them. Honestly, that is generally my way of doing things, is not to look at them. And I'm okay with that. In fact, I've been better off because I've been burnt so many times, like looking at them and having them like being freaked out to go into an appointment. And then my doctor going, no, it's fine. Like, that's fine. Turns out I'm not a doctor. So you just have to decide how you're going to handle those things, but have your list of countering that, right? What if, everything changes or whatever? What if it's not? What if everything is just fine? Like, tell your brain that too, We are trained to kind of see the worst, like imagine the worst, but we can also imagine the best. All right, I'm going to leave you with that. If you find this helpful, please let me know. I'm happy to do them more often. We will incorporate them more often. I think they're really fun. It also gives me a chance to kind of recap my story without telling the whole story again for people who are just jumping on the podcast. As another note, I just wanted to let you know that if you're looking for more information about kind of how I handle things from a mindset sort of thing, I have some digital guides that are available. You can go to my website, which is heatherjose.com. You can just download them. There's one called Break the Cancer Spiral, which literally talks about how I go through and, kind of stop what I'm thinking and change course for that. There's also guides for different phases of treatment that you might be in. The guides that I've created are the information that I would have loved to have had, especially when I was first diagnosed, but even, as I've gotten farther down the road. So I don't ever say this, but I'm going to say it. If you are appreciative of what I'm doing, I would love it if you could support me, by buying a guide or sharing them so that other people would buy them. We don't make a dime off of the podcast, and that is fine with me. But ultimately, the goal is to be able to continue to make products that are helpful to you, but that can also support our family. So have a great week, and I will see you soon. Thank you for listening to I'm Still Here. If this episode really resonated with you, one of the best ways you can support the podcast is by sharing it with someone else who you think would benefit from it. If you have questions or a topic you'd like to cover in future episodes, you can reach me through the contact form at www.heatherjose.com. And if you've been living with metastatic breast cancer for 10 years or more, and you would like to share your story, you can apply to be a part of the Sensational Survivor series using the link in the show notes. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next week.